All right, ladies and gentlemen, Jaire Alexander got released today. I don't know if he officially got released, but he's being released by the Packers. And that's crazy. Um, I understand why they did it. I understand that they've had their personality issues and contract and the injuries and everything else. Um, it just that's a really high caliber player to just hit the open market. And if there's one thing I think wholeheartedly, the Chargers need to be pursuing him. Obviously, most of the fan base agrees. We've been talking about it for a while, acquiring a top end talent like that. Um, the Jalen Ramsey trade speculation has been going on for a while, but to get him essentially for free, like, yes, you got to pay the contract, but capital wise, as far as mortgaging our future, getting him for free. That is something I did not expect to happen to even have that opportunity of a player of that caliber to become available to the Chargers. And we need him. I've been harping on this for a while about our cornerback room. And I'll get to that kind of later on in the video. But this is absolutely something the Chargers need to be pursuing. And if nothing else, just to keep them away from the rest of the powerhouses in the AFC, please. Or anywhere in the league, but especially the AFC. Like, he's got connections. He could be trying to go get a ring. There's a lot of places that he could go and have great success. But I think there's a lot of reasons why we're a good fit for him. So first, I want to kind of break down why I want him, why I want him more than I want Jalen Ramsey, and then we'll go into some of the Chargers specific things. So Jaire Alexander is 28 years old. That is relatively young for a former two-time All-Pro to be hitting the open market, let alone at probably a discounted rate. At this time of year alone is crazy. Not that many teams have a tremendous amount of cap space available. We actually have a competitive advantage here with $28 million available. Um, Now, he could take a lower, cheaper deal if he wants, but his talent is absolutely there. Now, biggest things that we've kind of seen is his injury history. Some people don't like his attitude. I think he's hilarious, but the injury history is kind of the biggest one that people have kind of knocked on. Um, I think 7 games, 6 full games, basically each of the last 2 years. But one thing I want to specifically kind of notate is how he played in those seasons, because when I look at someone. I guess my closest comparison that I kind of looked at was Tre'Davious White, one-time All-Pro, believe Trey White was the rookie of the year. Um, really promising future. Injuries derailed him. Now, a couple things here. Jaire came back and played extremely well for his limited time. Now, last year is probably his worst in certain aspects. Like, it was his worst as a tackler. I think he had a 20% missed tackle rate last year, but he's got a career like 11.9%, 12% missed tackle rate. Now, he's not great in the run game, but he's incredible in coverage. Last year for his 6 games, he had a 78.3 coverage grade. He's never had a grade below 70, I believe, overall. I think his outside of his rookie year, which was like a 73, he's never had a coverage grade below 75. His overall PFF grade has never dipped below a 70. That's very good. That's very, very good, especially for how lacking he is in the run game. He's not excellent in the run game, and I think that could deter Harbaugh in just the way that they want to play. But I think that his strengths in the passing game more than make up for it, especially with the way that the rest of the roster is built. He can be your true man coverage guy outside. Um, Now, in those 6 full games, 3 pass breakups, 7 pass defends, and 2 picks. So even though he had a high missed tackle rate, 2 picks in 6 healthy games. Obviously, that's a 8.5 pick season projection, like or pace. Um, Now he's never had that many picks. I don't think. I think his career high in picks is like 6 in a season. But excellent, excellent player. His completion percentage was still really solid. I think his completion percentage was like 52%. I may be wrong. Don't quote me on that. But really solid completion percentage still last year. And year before, same thing. Now let's look at last healthy season. Obviously, that was 2 years ago. But he played 16 games in that season. He was an all pro. He had an 82 coverage grade, 72, 71 in the run defense. So that was actually one of his better years as a run defender, and an 80 overall. That's like best top 3 corners in the league grade. That's ridiculous. If you get 85% of that, that's fantastic. That would be such a massive upgrade to our team. And not only that, again, when he's come back, he's played well. And these aren't catastrophic injuries. I'd have to look. I thought it was like an ankle last year, but these aren't massive, catastrophic Achilles. Your career could be in jeopardy type of injuries. And that's my big comparison with Tre'Davious White, because I have heard that he's going to be relatively cheap on the open market. I think too many people want him. I think he's too big of an upgrade for a contending team. And Trey White, after his ACL tear and Achilles tear, one-time All-Pro, not the history that Jaire has, and I think he got 4.25 million from the Rams, just about fully guaranteed. I think Jaire is going to get. He can go get a $10 million contract if he wants, a 1-year $10 million contract. Um, on a prove it deal, that'd be a hell of a deal for him. And again, we'll get to that in a second. But now I want to talk about Jalen Ramsey. So obviously, the elephant in the room of the two of these players is how much are you giving up to get them? Now, you're giving up almost nothing. You're giving up cap space that we have to go get Jaire Alexander. You're obviously giving up pretty solid draft capital. Now, obviously, that price has gone down for Jalen Ramsey, but you're still probably giving up a 5th-round pick to get him. And so, not only that, you have to work within the confines of his current contract. Jaire Alexander, you're giving him his own contract, likely a shorter deal. 1-year deal would be my guess. Someone might sign him to a long-term deal, but that would be my assumption. Whereas Jalen Ramsey's got, he's got outs after 2026, but you've got millions of dollars tied to him until his age 34 season. Jalen Ramsey's going to be 31 right after the season starts, 3 years older than Jaire. Incredibly consistent, but he's kind of had his dips throughout the year. Honestly, not quite as consistent as Jaire Alexander, but he's much better in the run game. I'll give him that. But if you look at last year specifically and some of the decline that he's had as he goes down, highest missed tackle rate of his career last year at 19.4%. Now, you could say, well, you just backed up Jaire on 20%. Yeah, but he also wasn't fully healthy. It was only a 6-game sample size. And Jalen Ramsey wasn't as good in coverage. And on top of that, you look at the completion percentage, it was his worst of his career. I think it was 71% completion percentage. That's not top tier all pro corner anymore. I think he's honestly closer to switching to safety than he is becoming an all pro corner again. We don't need another safety. If there's one position that the Chargers have locked up, safety's one of them. For sure. He also had only 2 picks last year, which I believe is his lowest in 4 years. And don't get me wrong, don't hold my head on it, but I think he played every game last year. He might have missed a game, but he definitely played like more than 14. So the majority of the season, and he just didn't have an excellent year. Miami's defense ain't bad all around. So you can't sit here and tell me that he had no supporting cast, and that's kind of the way it shook out the way that it did. $17 million this year owed. After that's 25, 27, and 36 million. Now you have an out. Like I said, in 2026, you can avoid most of that with like an $18 million dead cap. Obviously, don't want to eat that. In 2027, I think you have like an $11 million dead cap. But either way, you're giving up assets for this player. You expect to have them long term. We are not in a position of our roster to give up major assets, which mid-round draft picks have proven to be major assets for this regime, to acquire a player on a 1-year rental. We are not there. This is not the Rams F them pick situation where they're right there and they just know that one more player or 2 more players can push them over the edge. So let's just get everything we can. We're not in that spot. But we are in a spot to where if you shore up one of the few remaining kind of weak spots on the roster, that at least shows like, hey, we're taking this seriously and we know that we can go compete for a Super Bowl. Whether we're in the Super Bowl, to be determined, but that we don't care about the strength of schedule. We're not listening to the national media who kind of gave us a flash in the pan and they didn't go really bolster their roster in the offseason with all that cap space. No. Like Jaire Alexander seriously upgrades one of the weakest position groups on this roster. Jalen Ramsey would also do the same, but the 31-year-old player who's already declining and giving up legitimate assets for and paying a bunch more money, the vibes would be immaculate. Derwin, don't get me wrong. I'm all for that. At that price, I just can't do it. Jalen Ramsey gets released. Different situation. Do the Dolphins have a reason to release Jalen Ramsey? I don't think so. Did the Packers have a reason to release Jaire? I don't. I guess I don't know what their plan is, but I would have done it. Not with their position group, not with how their cornerback room looks. But okay. But either way, here he is. So let's talk about why the Chargers. So from the Chargers' perspective, and I've been driving on this for a while now. Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still, Dante Jackson, Ben St. Juste. Okay, solid. Dante Jackson plays on the outside. He's your hucka chucka football, all risk, all reward. Go get them picks. Walmart Trevon Diggs, as I have called him in the past. Nothing to do with his coverage or anything like that. And Trevon Diggs is a fine player, but he's very much sells out for the pick in my mind in the way that I watch him play. Now with Cam Hart and Tareeb Still, you can pull that off. But what if one of those guys gets hurt? What if Cam Hart gets hurt again, which at this point is more likely than unlikely? Or what if anybody else gets hurt? And then you have Ben St. Juste out there. So let's say it's Tarheeb, Dante Jackson, Ben St. Juste. Does that sound any better than bottom 10 secondaries in the NFL? Now, our safeties are going to cover up a lot, but that doesn't allow the defense to play any freer. And it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Jesse Minter is going to cover up for a lot of mistakes. These safeties are going to cover up for a lot of mistakes. I don't want them to have to do that. I want them to just be a top 10 defense in the NFL. And I think Jaire Alexander does that because Cam Hart, Jaire Alexander, and Tarheeb Still, is that not a healthy, probably top 5 position group in the NFL? If Cam Hart is half of what he was last year while he was healthy, if Tarheeb Still is half of what we all think he's going to be, like that sounds like a ridiculous trio. Ridiculous. And there's some ridiculous guys out there. Like Denver's secondary is going to be stupid. Um, but at least top 10, even with growing pains from the second year guys, at least top 10. And more specifically, if someone gets hurt, if Jaire gets hurt, okay, we're in the position we are now. If Cam Hart gets hurt, Jaire Alexander, Dante Jackson, Tarheeb Still sounds a heck of a lot better than what we have currently. I mean, it just makes nothing but sense to me. It makes absolutely like I've been pounding the table to go get a Russell Douglas or something. Like we still need to fill out that position group. I don't want Ben St. Juste on the field. And if he plays so well, like I'm gonna feel so bad because I've talked so much smack about him, but I don't want him out there. Perfectly fine rotational fifth guy. But if you have an injury and he's your third guy and he's playing 85% of the snaps on defense, cooked. Jesse Minter can cover up for a lot, but do we not want to improve? Like going to where we were last year with the competition that we have to face this year and wanting to compete in the postseason, like we built an incredible. Okay, the roster was incredibly successful for the talent that we had last year. I'm all for the Chargers' plan this year of making the roster deep. Like, I'm glad that we didn't go sign a bunch of big name players and then still be thin and then injuries will strike us. Like, I'm really happy with the path that we've gone, but there's nothing to lose by signing Jaire Alexander. There's incredible upside, very little downside. We're going to go spend $28 million, and let's just get to that. We have $28 million in cap space. Now, yes, we could go spend all that money. Someone else huge could be released. But realistically, if you leave, even if you're not even going to spend all that space, if you go sign Jaire Alexander, you have your $10 million emergency fund, maybe some contracts here and there. Honestly, Rashawn's contract's gonna alleviate cap space. Like, I don't know how there's any hesitancy or downside to going out and signing him for the massive amount of upside that there is. Like, what if you get 85% of an all pro player? What if you get a Pro Bowl caliber player? Would you not take it and run? Like, if it's $10 million, and like I've said, I've heard that people think he's going to be around that $5-6 million in cap space, and you could, but it would be incentive laden like crazy, and you'd expect him to be a starter. Let's just say $10 million. Let's even say $12 million. 16 million in cap space at that point. $6 million more to spend. $10 million for emergencies, plus whatever the Rashawn Slater contract opens up. Like, I can't see or justify a reason that we wouldn't go for it. I guess to almost 27 million. So almost been a little bit off, but it's you have plenty of money to play with. Um, and so the upside of turning in one of the weakest position groups, because agree with me or not agree with me, on how important it is to go get this player or a player of his caliber. Like, I don't want him going anywhere else. Um, a Russell Douglas before this moment, I would have been fine with. But if he goes to like Baltimore or Buffalo or Kansas City, I'm going to be livid. Or Houston. I don't think Houston doesn't have a need for a corner, but any of those can perennial playoff contenders, or goes and bails out the Bengals for being garbage, it would drive me nuts. It would be driving me nuts. And I don't think they have the money to make it happen. But there's just no reason why we wouldn't go out here and try and make this happen. And then reasons why he would want to play with us. Like, they're out there. Like, if you're a player on a 1 year deal or want to prove it and gain a contract, do the Chargers not make a ton of sense right now? Like, obviously, certain position groups, if you're a wide receiver, no, probably not. If you're a linebacker who just saw Deion Henley's value skyrocket through the roof, if you're anybody in the secondary with Klink and Minter, like, Molden got traded for a 2 years later seventh round pick, got paid like crazy. Derwin James, career resurgence. Cam Hart and Tarheeb still top rookies in their class. Christian Fulton went out and got paid. Like, why wouldn't you want to come here? Like, if you saw the way that Jesse Minter's defense and those guys performed and how they were viewed throughout the majority of their season because of Jesse Minter, why would you not want to be like, oh, let's go there? Let's do that. Let's sign a decent deal there. And they can pay me more than most other people. Sunny Los Angeles. Um, I know we don't really have any ties to him. Like, I think he's from Louisville, or went to college in Louisville. I think he's from like South Carolina or something. Um, but he's from somewhere down there, like nowhere close to LA. But come out to sunny Los Angeles, get paid handsomely because we can pay you more than most other players. We're a legitimate contender, second tier, I would say. We're not in the Buffaloes, Baltimores, Phillies, Kansas Cities. So they're mostly in the AFC, but like of like surefire locks to make later rounds of the playoffs. And then there's everybody else bundled in right there. Um, and we're part of that. And so I think that there's a legitimate chance there. And so I think you have that combination of excellent scheme fit, excellent opportunity to historical value of wanting to go make money, doing a 1 year and going to make money, and being able to pay you this year, and a clear path to excellent playing time. Like Jaire Alexander, like, first of all, I mean, he's going to start over almost anybody. But you look at the Chargers room, you see Hebe and Cam Hart, you're like, cool, young guys. Gonna be hard. Like, yeah, we'll see. Cam Hart got injured, probably have some playing time. Dante Jackson, yeah. Ben St. Juste, no, I'm their number one corner. Like, our best corner should pretty much play exclusively in the slot nickel. Like, he can play outside. He can. Don't get me wrong. He absolutely can. But when you look at the construction of a roster, it makes more sense to do it this way. And I think that we have an excellent opportunity to go out there and get the guy that we want to get. It just comes down to, does this front office want to do it? And if they're not at least in contention with these contracts, like if we lose out on him, and I know we tried to get him, it'll suck, but it won't bother me the same way. If we just sit on our laurels because whatever reason he's not our guy, Harbaugh doesn't have a history with him, Ortiz doesn't have a history with him, then I'm going to be a little bit like, what are we doing? Go get the freakishly talented guy. Who cares about connections? Who cares about if he says goofy things? Who cares if he's missed some team meetings? Give it a shot. There's nothing to lose at this point. I hope we get after him. They have the. Uh, I don't know if I can put into words how much that I think that this changes the dynamic of our defense entirely. So, anyway, let me know what you guys think. Um, Thanks for tuning in. There's another episode of Nature's Calls, and see you guys next time. Thanks for tuning in. If you like what you heard, please give me a follow on Twitter or X at Erdman Chargers. Or if you're not already there, go ahead and hop over to my YouTube channel, like or subscribe at Nature's Calls Pod. Thanks for listening.